Good evening. My name is Jay Costa. Tonight, we will be discussing the recent Champions League racism investigation, the arrest of 2 Georgia football players, and the Olympic hockey gold medal game. Then, I will be joined by Matt Malchiotti and guest debater CJ Weeps for Anchor Point. After, we'll go to Deckside Chats to close out the show. Welcome to Hall Zone. A Champions League playoff first leg match between SL Benfica and Real Madrid has led to a one-game ban for Gianluca Prestiani following an incident between players late in the match. Brazilian winger Vinicius Jr. scored the winning goal in Real Madrid's 1-0 victory in Lisbon. Vinicius celebrated his goal near the Benfica corner flag, which led to an on-field exchange between Vinicius and Benfica winger Gianluca Prestiani. Vinicius reported to the match officials that a racist remark had been directed toward him. Play was halted for approximately 10 minutes as referee Francois Letexier followed UEFA's anti-discrimination protocol. The incident was not audible on the broadcast footage, and the alleged words were not captured on camera. Only the players involved were in earshot of the exchange. After the match, Vinicius responded on social media, writing, quote, "Racists are, above all, cowards. They need to put their shirts over their mouths to demonstrate how weak they are," end quote. Real Madrid forward Kylian Mbappe addressed the incident. He said, quote, "There was a Benfica player, number 25. I don't want to say his name because he doesn't deserve to be mentioned, who started talking rudely," end quote. Mbappe continued to say, quote, "Then he lifted his shirt up here, covering his mouth to say that Vinny is a monkey 5 times. I heard it. There was a Benfica player who also heard it," end quote. Real Madrid announced that it has submitted what it described as, quote, "all available evidence," end quote, to UEFA in an official statement. The club said it is actively cooperating with UEFA's investigation into what it called unacceptable episodes of racism during the match in Lisbon. Real Madrid also expressed appreciation for the support Vinicius has received and said it will continue working with football institutions to combat racism, violence, and hate in the sport. UEFA has appointed an ethics and disciplinary inspector to investigate the matter, but in the meantime, UEFA handed Prestiani a provisional 1-game suspension. Prestiani has denied using racial language. In a post on X, the 20-year-old Argentinian forward wrote, quote, "I want to clarify that at no time did I direct racist insults to Real Madrid player Vinicius Jr., who was regrettably misunderstood what he thought he heard from me," end quote. He later added, quote, "I have never been a racist with anyone, and I regret the threats that I received from Real Madrid players," end quote. Prestiani has since admitted to UEFA of making an anti-gay slur than a racist remark. Under UEFA's disciplinary code, a player found guilty of racial abuse could face a ban of up to 10 matches. Benfica also released a statement reaffirming its commitment to equality, respect, and inclusion, calling those values central to the club's identity. The club said it fully supports Prestiani and believes his version of the events, adding that it condemns what it described as a smear campaign against the player. UEFA has not announced a timeline for the decision. From the world stage of the Champions League to Athens, Georgia, another story this week involves accountability in sports. 2 members of Georgia Bulldogs football program were arrested on reckless driving charges following an incident on a major Georgia highway. Junior defensive lineman Chris Cole and sophomore defensive lineman Darren Ikenabon were taken into custody after law enforcement says the 2 were speeding well above the posted limits on Interstate 75. According to police reports, both players were clocked going in excess of 120 miles per hour in a 70 mile per hour zone, leading to their arrest and subsequent charges of reckless driving and exceeding the maximum speed limits. These 2 arrests mean that 21 Georgia football players have now been arrested on misdemeanor or felony traffic-related charges since 2023. In statements issued after the arrests, both students expressed regret over their actions. Cole said, quote, "I accept responsibility for my actions, and I understand that I made a mistake," end quote. Ikenabon echoed that sentiment, adding that the 2 have, quote, "learned from this and will grow from it," end quote. Georgia head coach Kirby Smart also addressed the situation, making it clear that the program takes the matter seriously. A team spokesperson said there will be an internal discipline in addition to any legal consequences the players may face, and that the university remains committed to accountability and player conduct standards. Both Cole and Ikenabon were booked at the local county jail, released on bond, and are expected to appear in court in the coming weeks. The incident has again sparked discussion around responsibility and public safety, particularly for high-profile athletes who are seen as role models in their communities. With the football season over, the program enters the offseason under continued scrutiny regarding player conduct. We're going to take a quick break here in the studio. When we come back, we'll discuss the United States hockey's gold medal victory in the Olympics. Don't go anywhere.
For all, forever. A promise that began 170 years ago and still guides us today. A legacy of knowledge, faith, and transformation. Born of vision, built on community. We are one university with one mission, to create an immensity of future good, as Mother Seton once hoped, to prepare minds, to open doors, to lead with compassion. This is Seton Hall. Driven by purpose, united by faith, reason, and possibility. And now, a campaign to elevate every Setonian, for all, forever. A historic goal to touch every corner of our university and every member of our community. We prepare leaders through scholarship. We enrich education through immersive experience and global reach. We strengthen our cornerstones with academic excellence, research, and faith. Because every gift touches every student, today and for generations to come. For opportunity, for discovery, for community. Join us in shaping the next 170 years. For all, forever. A campaign for a greater Seton Hall.
And now, a much anticipated feel-good moment on the international stage. The men's ice hockey gold medal match at the 2026 Winter Olympics. In a classic rivalry showdown, Team USA edged Canada 2-1 in overtime to win the gold medal at the Milano Cortina Games. Their first men's hockey Olympic gold medal since the iconic Miracle on Ice in 1980. The golden goal came just 1 minute and 41 seconds into overtime when Jack Hughes slipped a pass from Zach Werenski through the 5-hole to secure the win in front of a charged crowd at Santa Giulia Arena. The U.S. took the early lead on a goal by Matt Boldy, and Canada answered late in the second period with a tallied effort from Cale Makar to send the game to extra time. Goaltender Connor Hellebuck had a stellar night, making over 40 saves to keep the U.S. in it and give his team the chance to capitalize in overtime. This victory marks a historic moment for the U.S. men's hockey team, reclaiming the top spot on the Olympic podium after a 46-year wait. And it comes in one of the toughest matchups in all of Winter Olympic sport. It's a memorable day for American hockey fans and a story of resilience, passion, and intensity on the world's biggest stage. When we return, I'll be joined by Matthew Malchiotti and guest debater CJ Weeps for Anchor Point. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We shift gears now to Anchor Point. I'm joined by Matthew Malchiotti and a special guest debater, CJ Weeps, director and broadcaster at Pirate Sports Network. Well, thank you for being here, CJ. First of all, it means a lot to us. And Matt, always good to have you on the show. So why don't we start with bubble teams? CJ, you talk a lot about college basketball. I know you brought out some KenPom. What are the bubble teams that you've got coming into this tournament for NCAA?
Well, as we head down the stretch, Jay, and we take a look at how the rest of this NCAA season is about to go, I'm looking at these bubble teams, and it's not a very strong bubble this year, to be completely honest. But so far, my last four in the teams that will be playing in Dayton to finally get to the field of 64, I've got Missouri, Santa Clara, TCU, and New Mexico. A lot of teams on there that are pretty different, honestly, with how their seasons have shaped out. But I want to start with Missouri, as they have some of the most interesting metrics out of all of these teams. They're 60th in the net, but they're 52nd in KenPom and 46th in Evan Mia. So they've, have a little bit of a range there. But one of the biggest reasons why I have them in the NCAA tournament as one of those last four is their resume is very strong. They have really good wins, including a quad 1A win against Florida. They're 8-9 in quad 1 and 2 games, so they have a really strong argument. They have wins at Kentucky at Rupp Arena, against Vanderbilt, the SEC. Although it's not as strong as it has been in the past, it's really, really strong at the top, and that's where Missouri has really found their footing. The big caveat to this Tigers season, though, has been, some of their losses haven't been too good. They lost on the road to Notre Dame, who's been on the bottom half of the ACC for the entire season. So that's going to be something that the selection committee is going to have to rule, whether these Tigers wins are going to be better than their tough losses. And that's what them and TCU kind of have in common, who I also have in that last four, the Horned Frogs, where they have really, really good wins, but those losses are going to be tough to handle.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see where you're coming from with New Mexico. That's one of the teams that I also picked. But for my bubble teams, I have Auburn, VCU, and USC as well. The main reason why I say Auburn is that they need to do well in the SEC tournament, I will admit. But I do believe that, like Seton Hall, I mean, he's been averaging 20 points per game, 7 rebounds. He's been doing really well. And when they surround Auburn, like around him, they can do really well. I know they can do really well. They need to finish above 500, obviously. And, I mean, he's a real player, like, around this team. Recent win over Kentucky, very massive, very, like, much-needed win. Often projected around a 9 or a 10 seed around that area. VCU, I say that because they are the previous A10 championships. They won it last year in 2025. Most likely going to be playing St. Louis in the A10 championship this year. So we'll talk, of course, talk about that. Strong team in a weaker conference. I mean, they've always been really well in their conference and been taking advantage of the fact that they play in a lower conference. Really, they must win the A10 tournament if they really want to do something and really have an impact this.
Well, VCU, I mean, I think they've been really strong this year, especially of late in conference play. They only have 2 conference losses, and that's to St. Louis, who's ranked. My issue with the Rams is the fact that they're 1-5 in quad 1 games, which is for a team like VCU, who's in the A10. It's very difficult for them to get those quad 1 opportunities, but when they get them, they need to take advantage. And their worst loss of the season, and it looks even worse by the day, is on the road against George Mason. They lost. That was when they went on a 2-game skid. They just lost to St. Louis, then they lost to George Mason in Fairfax. But that's a game that is getting worse by the day. George Mason's been slipping. But when their best win is against Virginia Tech, who is another bubble team that I also have out. It's very, very tough for me to say, hey, they deserve to be in over, some of these other teams that have better resumes, that have played these stronger teams. And, you look at those quad 1 games that they had, losses to New Mexico, Utah State, NC State, Vanderbilt, and then St. Louis twice. So, you had those opportunities and you weren't able to take care of them. Those New Mexico and Utah State games are really going to come back to bite them.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that. I mean, really, VCU, I mean, like, as long as they win their next few games, they do well in the A10 tournament, I really do think that they still do sort of have a chance. I mean, I will admit they were definitely a little bit weaker than they have been in the previous years, but I still think they do have a shot regardless.
Yeah, and I mean, the big if is, they need the automatic bid. I think they need the automatic bid. They can't make it at large at this point in time. But I also want to go back to your USC with the Trojans, because I think that's another team that is so purely on the bubble, but the metrics really aren't in their favor. They're 58th in the net, 57th in Ken Pom, and 60th in Evan Mia, and they've got a tough upcoming schedule.
They do.
And right now, they're without Rodney Rice, who's out for the season. Chad Baker-Mazzaro has been playing through injury. Elijah Arenas was a game-time decision in their last game. By the way, a loss against a really bad Oregon team. So it's really tough for me to say, hey, the Trojans deserve to be in. On the flip side of that, though, because they have so many opportunities left on their schedule, they're at UCLA versus Nebraska, at Washington, which they need to take care of, and then home against UCLA again. So 2 games against UCLA, who I think is firmly in the NCAA tournament at this point, and then a really, really tough home test against the Cornhuskers. You take 2 out of 3 of those games, it's a different conversation that we're having, but they really do need to show that they can win games and be competitive without Rodney Rice, because just a couple days ago, the selection committee released their top 16 seeds in the NCAA tournament, and part of their rationale for Texas Tech, who I believe was a 13 seed, towards the end of that was, hey, is Texas Tech going to be able to play without JT Toppin, who is out for the season with an ACL tear. And I think USC is going to be in that same sort of bubble conversation with, hey, can they play at a high-quality level, at an NCAA tournament level, without Rodney Rice?
Rodney Rice has been a very key part for this Trojans team. They do have a really tough schedule against number 12 Nebraska and later tonight, as of filming, UCLA at UCLA. But this is a team that has been able to make pretty keen wins against other tough teams as well in the future. So I definitely still see a glimmer of hope for this Trojans team, even if the odds really aren't in their favor. I mean, upsets have happened before. It's college basketball. Things have happened too, so.
And while we're on the topic of sleeper teams, I do want to ask about one of the teams you have there. You wrote down Santa Clara,
yes.
And that's not really a team that we talk about, so I just want to quickly hear your argument for why you think they'll make it in.
Yeah, I think Santa Clara has been one of the most underrated teams in the country. I feel like people have seen them and seen some of their quality wins. And again, they're a mid-major team. They're a good mid-major team, which means that coming into the season, not a lot of people want to schedule them, but they've taken everything in stride. The biggest issue with them right now, though, they're 1-4 in Quad 1 games, with their only Quad 1 win at the moment is a win at Minnesota, who is 73rd in the net ratings, which is the cusp of a Quad 1 win for the Broncos. But again, They have a good win against St. Mary's at home, a 62-54 win. That was a Quad 2-1. Their worst loss, though, being Loyola Chicago, which is a Quad 4 loss on a neutral site. But then again, the metrics still in their favor. 40th in the net, 35th in Ken Palm, 30th in Evan Mia. But really where this team shines is their offense. They are an offensive juggernaut, 29th in the country in points per game. They average 84. They're 12th in field goals made per game, and they're 47th in the nation in tempo. So they play fast, they play physical, and this is a Broncos team that, really deserves to be in. And again, this is another team that has a lot of opportunities coming up. They're on the road against St. Mary's, and then they're playing a former Pac-12 school in Oregon State to close off the regular season. But, they're still missing that one key win in their resume, that win against Gonzaga in the conference. If they can sweep St. Mary's, I feel like their ability to make the NCAA tournament and their path becomes a lot easier.
I got you. One question I do have for you, though, is you mentioned about their offense. What about their defense? Defense is still, a very important part of basketball. It really depends, if you can win a game or not against a really tough team.
Well, the difference with St. Mary's, their defense is solid enough for what they need to do. And, again, the metrics really show that. 30th in Evan Mia, who was one of the more analytical guys on the internet when it comes to college basketball. In order for a bubble team to make the NCAA tournament, their predictive metrics have to average out to about 37 or to about 45. Santa Clara's are 37.3, so they're well within the bounds in terms of metrics to make the NCAA tournament. The argument against them is their resume. They're again 1-4 in Quad 1 games. They're also 7-1 in Quad 2 games, so they're not winning the top games, but they're also not losing some of those, middle of the pack, maybe top half of the West Coast Conference games. So this is a team that is really, really strong on both sides of the basketball. And I think that when they run into a higher major opponent, I think they'll give them a fight.
I think we've talked a little bit enough about the bubble teams for now. Why don't we move over to our next topic and go to some baseball? You guys are both big baseball guys. Mm-hmm. Who won the offseason for the MLB? Matt, we'll start with you.
You could call it bias as a Mets fan myself, but I really do think that the New York Mets have won the offseason. I will admit they have lost a lot of key important players to their franchise, a lot of franchise stars, faces of the franchise as well. But what matters is that you replace them and you get better stars in the future. And that's what exactly the Mets have done. They've gotten Bo Bichette on a 3-year, $126 million deal. Many were worried about the field positionings for the Mets this offseason. And I feel like those trades really helped out, balance the positionings from the field and such.
Yeah, and listen, I was also on the fence of who was going to be the biggest, winner of the offseason. I had the Mets on my board, but at the same time, when you lose Pete Alonso, when you don't really bolster the starting rotation that much, which was a big issue last year, especially in a division where you have the Phillies, who, again, also didn't do too much, but, the Braves are coming back with a really strong hitting core. Having a really solid starting rotation and bullpen is probably really important in the NL East, but again, losing Pete Alonso, I think is really, really tough. But as for my winner, I am actually going with the team that Bo Bichette left, the Toronto Blue Jays, the World Series runner-ups. And they didn't do too much, right? You lose Bo Bichette, you lose Sir Anthony Dominguez, an arm out of the bullpen, but then you go out and you get some really under-the-radar guys. Dylan Cease on a 7-year, $210 million contract. Now, he did have some issues last year with his ERA. It was his second highest of his career. It was a 4.55 ERA, but he led the majors in strikeouts per 9 innings. He had 215 strikeouts over 168 innings pitched. So this is a guy that has shown glimpses of his ability on the mound and has been a really, is going to be a nice 3 or 4 in this Blue Jays rotation that isn't going to change from their World Series run last year. He also has the 4th highest FWAR among pitchers since 2021. So he, is above that replacement level. And for a 7-year, $210 million contract, $30 million a year is not bad for a guy that's going to be a 3. And if you're Toronto and you're coming into this with a really strong core already, having a nice 3 in your rotation, because, when you get to playoff time, it's important that you have those 3 guys. It's really going to make a big, big difference. But that's just one of the many signings that the Blue Jays had that I think will make them the winners of this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see where you're coming from with, the arms of the Mets as well, because, I will admit, it's no 2019, NL East, superstar, rotation, Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard, Zach Wheeler even. But, they have made, steps in the right direction to, bolster their rotation. I mean, they got Freddie Peralta this offseason as well. So, I mean, it's not like they're not doing anything when it comes to, their starting lineup and their rotation as well. They have made steps in the right direction. They also managed to get outfielders like Luis Robert Jr. from the Chicago White Sox as well. And not to mention, I feel like as much as the Blue Jays got as well, they got Tyler Rogers as well to help with their rotation, they've lost more key players than they really received more. I mean, the loss of Bo Bichette, was really a nail in the coffin, as well as Chris Bassett as well. So, I mean, I could definitely see where you're coming from with the Toronto Blue Jays, but I mean, I still think that the New York Mets sort of had the upper hand advantage when it comes to the signings from the offseason.
Yeah, and I get that. And when you take a look at that Bo Bichette loss, it's very difficult not to see the impact that he leaves in the middle of the infield and that hole. But I feel like the backups and the reserves for the Blue Jays, that infield defense is going to be perfectly fine. But then they go out and they get another bat in Kazumo Okamoto from the Japanese league. He hit .327 last year with 15 home runs and 49 RBIs in just 69 games played. And he has decent enough defense to really hold it over there at third base. So, the loss of Bo Bichette is big, but when you take into account the amount of space that he probably cleared, that the Blue Jays cleared up not re-signing him and instead taking a chance on this guy from overseas, from Japan, who has comparable hitting abilities and has the ability to grow as an MLB hitter, I have a feeling that the Blue Jays are going to be back to the World Series before we know it.
Yeah, and before we wrap it up, I just want to ask both of your final points on this and the teams that, do you guys think that your team can win the World Series with the additions they've made this offseason?
Yeah, I think that, the Blue Jays, coming back off of a World Series appearance already, Game 7, extra innings, and the hitting core is going to be perfectly fine, right? You don't lose a ton besides Bichette. And then you come back and you really hammer home the pitching staff, which, this bullpen had a 3.98 staff ERA with 644 strikeouts across the entire staff. So you go back in with Tyler Rogers, a lefty from the Giants, spent a little bit of time with the Mets last year, as well as the Giants had a 2.4 WAR with both of those squads last year, 1.98 ERA as a lefty. So being able to bolster the bullpen there, and then getting Cody Ponce out of the KBL, had a 1.89 ERA there as a starter, won the MVP of the league. So again, more pitching depth for a Blue Jays team that was ever so close last year. I think they have a real shot to go back.
I mean, I absolutely do think that the Mets could make a potential deep playoff run. I know a lot of Mets fans obviously say that, and then they never really meet expectations as well. But with the way that the Mets have been going in the right direction and signing all of the key players that they really need to get their foot in the right direction, I really do think that they do have a good chance to at least make a statement in the division series and even the championship series for the NL. So, yeah.
All right. Well, that's all we have here for Anchor Point. Thank you guys for joining us, and thank you two for being here. And after this quick break, we'll transition to our next segment, Deckside Chats.
Welcome back and welcome to Deckside Chats. I'm here with Paul Brignola and Robert Meisinger. Guys, we have a lot to talk about here today. we're going to start off with the NIT. Selections will be made on March 15th, and the first rounds begin on March 17th and 18th. Will we see our Seton Hall Pirates in the NIT? How are we feeling about that? Robert, I'm going to start with you.
I feel very confident that we will make the NIT in general. We have a really nice record right now. There's some losses here and there, but I feel very confident in the fact that we will make the NIT.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Paul, what about you? How are you feeling
In my
about
opinion, thank you. I agree with Robert's points. Seton Hall basketball does have a lot of weapons. A few wins, a few losses, but we're not a bad team. We're a good, solid team, and I believe with our weapons, we got Bud Clark, Simpson, Staten McRae. We have weapons at our disposal. We're a good team. We got good coaching. I believe it's definitely possible that we can make it.
Yeah, and not to mention, like, we've had some, like, rough patches every now and then. Like, we've lost to DePaul, which is a team that hasn't really been so successful on the road. We've lost to a lot of other teams. Like, we barely managed to win against Georgetown, which we went 0-18 with 3-pointers as well, which is embarrassing to say the least. But we are on track to make a pretty good run within, like, at least the NIT is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's not impossible. It's definitely possible, and I do believe it can work. We've got everything at our disposal. It's a matter of, like, can we do it, depending on the games that happen next.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. We have some hard competition coming up. We have UConn, which is an away game. That's going to be really hard. Then we have Xavier. I don't know how that's going to work yet. I feel like it's going to be half and half. And then we have the St. John's game. The St. John's game, that's going to be at home. That's going to give us a nice advantage. But St. John's is a hard team, and they have been doing really well recently.
But I feel like that UConn game, like, even if we can make it to the NCAA, that would be very cool. But I feel like that win away against UConn would definitely be in a big motivation, a big swing of things that would help us. Like, oh yeah, we can win away. We can definitely take down the other two.
I completely agree with you guys. We're going to transition a little bit from NIT to sports betting, guys. Sports betting is absolutely everywhere. It's been on tons of commercials. It's everywhere. Some, like, broadcasters like ESPN have been implementing their own apps into sports betting as well. What are some of your guys' thoughts about sports betting in today's day and age? Is it, like, ruining the game? Is it enhancing it? How are we feeling about it? Paul, I'm going to start with you.
I feel like sports betting has become more active with the age of media and technology becoming a big thing, because it's so easy and accessible that a lot of people can do it, and it's also a very lucrative way for people to make money on both sides. A player does well, you call this bet, all of a sudden, hey, you could win a lot of money, and also a lot of ads have the big initiative, like, oh, if you start, you get a bunch of money, and we've seen that a lot with DraftKings, BetMGM, with a lot of, like, sports betting ads, and especially at the Super Bowl, there were a ton of sports betting ads, just everywhere, even like the QR code ads. Like, even before the game, it's like, download our app and get the money. You can start betting on all these games. So it's also taking advantage of opportune moments like the Super Bowl, because it's very big. A lot of people are watching the game for the Seahawks and the Patriots, but because there's a lot of people, you're going to garner a bunch of adults who are going to be interested.
Mm-hmm. Robert?
The problem also, we have to talk about other sports too. The NBA, college basketball is a really controversial thing. I don't know too much to really go into the specifics, but the trend has just been continuing overall with these other sports too. And I feel like it's going to just ruin the sports in general in that case. I
mean, I could definitely see both of your points. I mean, like, really, it can either benefit, it can definitely make the game more exciting, but it can also ruin, if we're talking about, like, the grand scheme of things, it can ruin a lot of people's lives if it's not being taken care of properly and not being handled responsibly, which is why I feel like it's so controversial and why it's so, like, taboo almost, that, like, sports betting is, like, really becoming more popular and such. Do you guys have any thoughts about, like, how it's, like, impacting other people's lives as well? Or
performances, just for starters, it's just going to ruin it in that case. That's all I got to say for that.
I feel like it could be a lot of pressure, a lot of just a big influence on people to get people interested. It's a hook. To quickly become an addiction. Like, hey, you enjoy sports, you wanna make some money. How about you combine both? And all of a sudden, you have people that want to cash off of people that are interested, because there are a lot of people do it, even possibly younger ages, like, to make a quick buck. Yeah. And especially in this age, everybody wants the buck, everybody wants sports, so why not take an opportunity and, well, gamble?
Right. Exactly.
I gotcha. All right, so we're going to be switching over from topics. We're going to be talking about the Winter Olympics. It's been really hectic around here in the United States. The men's team just won gold. This is the first time they've won it since 1980 against the USSR,
Yep.
up against Canada. It's been really, really happy to see as like Americans as well, to see our country do well. And really, Jack Hughes was the hero of the game. He managed to score that overtime goal.
Big
What
win.
are we thinking about that, the men's team as well?
I'm proud of the men's team. Jack Hughes with that big goal. Hunter Helia, very, very good with helping him at the very close game. Overtime, 2-1. Just what a stunning game and what a stunning way to end the Winter Olympics. Going for the gold. Haven't won since the Miracle on Ice. So honestly, that looks good for America going forward, and I'm very happy for our team's success.
Same for New Jersey as well, since, it's part of the New Jersey Devils. It's like a really good view for New Jersey since he made that shot.
Yeah.
But then if we continually going on, the women's also made their win with Megan Keller. And that is just perfect against Canada as well in overtime in that case.
Very ironic how both games were won 2-1 overtime against the other team. You gotta admit.
Yeah, I could definitely see where you're coming from. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
I'm just gonna say I'm very proud. It was very good to see, and it looks very optimistic for us going forward with our teams, with our players. So, yeah.
The future is very hopeful. I'm really confident in just how we're gonna do things in general.
Yeah, I mean, like, sort of before we wrap things up, I mean, really, I'm just hoping to see Jack Hughes especially, because I'm a New Jersey Devils fan myself. I mean, my team hasn't really been, doing the best ever since he got injured with that whole knife incident as well. I mean, I really do hope that he can eventually come back nice and healthy and eventually help the New Jersey Devils as well. So how are we thinking about that as well? I mean, Jack Hughes, he's shown that he can play at a really good level when he's healthy. How are we thinking about that? Especially for when it comes to his health and the New Jersey Devils.
I would definitely say that it's good when he comes back. It would look good, but it's also very optimistic because, like I said, they just won, so it would be a good look and a good morale boost. Yeah, he's back, he's healthy, and it would just be a great way to just go from the Winter Olympics to hockey. It's also just nice to have.
And back to the Devils, they have some work to do to really catch up and look a lot better than they currently are.
Absolutely.
Since they're kind of a little further away from some other really good teams.
Yeah. I got you guys.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that will do it here in the studio. Thank you guys so much for watching. And once again, I'm Matt Melchiotti. That's been all from us here at Hall Zone, an exclusive production of SHU TV. Have a great night.